So give me what I want. I don't really understand it. What this girl she sees in me. And she's trying to figure me out. She can be my queen. What I gotta know is, give me what I want. You don't have to be that pretty. In fact, you can be a little mean. Don't tell much, lady. Looking to satisfy me. What I gotta know is, give me what I want. Listen up, girl. Well, I want love in the morning, a little bit of weed in the afternoon. G-Devil to tell me, girl, dancing like a bird. Hey, I'm not complicated, baby. Call me the dog, 'cause I'm a simple lady. Don't tell much, baby. Give out what I can. What I gotta know is, give me what I want. Well, I want love in the morning, little bit of weed in the afternoon. Be a devil to tell me, girl, that's a come on, Nathan. Well, I want love in the morning, little bit of weed in the afternoon. Well, I don't want a whole lot of weed. G-Devil to tell me, girl, that's what I'm all about. Grab your piece of pain, baby. Be sure to jot down this advice. You're looking to take me, girl. You want me to play tonight. I wanna know is, give me what I need to know is, give me what I gotta know is, give me what I, give me what I, give me what I.
Yes, bi-weekly. Bi-weekly, yeah.
Okay.
I always wonder if bi-weekly means like twice a week or every other week, but it means every other week in this
every
case.
other week, yes.
Yeah.
Well, I'm Frances.
I'm Steven.
And we got started doing the open mic together so I was running an open mic by myself at this place called The Shop downtown. And it was kind of a struggle because obviously I told you I don't play music or any instruments of sing or might do anything like that. So I'd have to like beg some friends to come and fill in those the dead spots. But the shop closed, and then that was unfortunate. And actually, one of our friends from Nick's Ice House reached out to both Steven and I and asked if we wanted to start doing an open mic there.
Yeah, and I remember when he said something about it. He was like, how do you feel about somebody else was doing an open mic there, but it's a little more guerrilla. And he said something to me about it and then mentioned Frances, and I was like, and I wasn't interested at all until he was like, and get Frances to do blah, blah. I was like, perfect, I will do it. I will do it with Frances. I won't do it by myself. I was like, that's the deal here. Like, I won't run an open mic without her. She puts up with the things I don't want to put up with.
Yes, I keep order to the list. That is my main job.
She's the
and
boss.
Introducing everyone, of course, and yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll get the list started. And generally, what has started to happen is people, musicians, or artists will show up a little bit before I get there, actually. So I'll notice them, and when I get there, I'll just walk around and I'll ask, do you want to get on the list? You just hanging out, or you want to wait? And that's how it gets started. And then as people come in, they'll come find me, or I'll keep doing the rounds, Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And usually, I always tell people, find Frances, get on the list, let her know what you need, and then she'll tell me, or you can find me and talk about what sound and stuff, because I'll be running sound and plugging everybody in. And I usually I used to open it and then close it all the time. These days I kind of put myself in the middle and then close it, because I kind of go back and forth, because sometimes it's easier to sound check someone that's not me for the first act. So but yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Steven's a hard first act to follow as well sometimes, so
bum everybody out.
Well, that too.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, no, I meant you were just like a good musician,
Oh,
and sometimes it makes it a little, it's like a new meat comes along, it makes it a little kind of nervous to follow Steven, because he's established.
I did like how there were
established
people. Like it was like a good variety. It was newer people, and it was like the good oldies folks.
Oh, yeah.
And it was like a nice variety of folks.
We
For
have
sure.
a great crowd. Yeah,
We do,
It's
and we have a lot of cool
diverse,
regulars.
Yeah.
And we get a lot of pros too, which is fun, because we were just talking about this before we started filming, but there's a lot of pros in Hattiesburg who play music all around the Southeast for a living. And Wednesday nights, a lot of the times they're free, or hanging out in town, and it's pretty common that everybody from some of the Roll Horses dudes, or folks from Grits and Greens, and we've had
Burns and Jane.
We've had Carrie Hudson come out, before, and Burns and Jane, and anybody who plays around, if they're off for the night, they'll come and hang out and play some stuff. And then we have people who started out at the open mic. Like, there's several people who play music around town now and have gigs who did their very first playing in front of people ever at the open mic, and I think that's super cool to see. That's kind of the reason I like doing it.
Yeah, I love that. Not necessarily, I don't think. We've had a few people who only want to do one song. Like we'll do 3 or 4 songs depending on the list, and they only have the nerve to do one song, which is totally allowed. But no one's really.
I would say yes and no. We've had people get up there who very quickly started to fall apart, but we have a really great crowd and group of people who are super encouraging, and usually they get a chance to watch a few people first, and usually, like, if somebody starts to like clam up first time doing it and gets weird, they come out of it before they finish the song, because like everyone there is super cool and encouraging. So whatever nerves they have are things they put on themselves before they started playing. And then usually I've seen quite a few people who the first time they played like were kind of sweaty, shaky at first, but by the end of the song they were doing great. You know what I mean? Like that happens occasionally.
Yeah. Yeah.
which I think is a cool testament to the people that go
I guess
there.
you're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good testament to, yeah. Are you talking about the crowd and
crowd,
the,
yeah.
Oh,
Both,
for
yeah.
sure.
Well,
yeah.
honestly-
it's very welcoming. That is important.
Honestly, I think some nights, half to most of the crowd are all performers. You know what I mean?
You're probably right.
The cool thing about it is we might have 18 people sign up on the list,
Yeah.
and they've got somebody with them, and there'll be 30 people hanging out, and every one of them are like somebody who played, and and they'll hang out all night and listen to everybody.
Yeah.
And,
Be a part of it.
Tell us, because y'all didn't tell us about where it's at, and the time, and
Oh.
all that.
that's not.
Okay, yeah. That's important.
It's
That might be
like a
little important.
speakeasy. You know, there's a password. You have to
Right.
find it in a dark corner of the internet. Knock
the
3
riddle,
times and
have to
ask
solve
for
a riddle.
Lou.
Yeah, so it's bi-weekly on Wednesdays at the Grill and Grocery in downtown Hattiesburg on West Pine Street.
8 p.m.
At 8 p.m.
It's free.
It is free. We go till they close at 2 a.m., so we go until at least then. It generally ends around 12:31.
Yeah. And it's a lot of fun. It's cross street from the old bottling company. If you don't know where the G&G is, if you don't know where the G&G is, you should, because they have lots of music there, and it's a fun place that lots of local musicians and folks hang out at. It's gotten to be a fun end of the night spot for a lot of people.
Yeah.
People go somewhere and then they'll wind up there, which is always cool.
Have a little nightcap beer there.
It's a really good way too if you already play music. One of my favorite things about open mic too, and what actually got me into playing open mics a few years ago, and I still kind of do it occasionally if I'm somewhere and I'm not booked and I find one around. It's a really good way to like throw out new material and see how people respond to it. And also for me, one of the best things about being involved in the open mic is it kind of keeps my finger on the pulse of who's playing what, and how good they are or aren't, or who I should call for whatever, or things like that. Like I play music for a living, and I'm busy, and I'm older than a lot of the people that do that. So there's a lot of young kids coming up who are good musicians in college that I just wouldn't know about. And I wouldn't call them for subs or for putting bands together because I didn't see them play. So it's a really good chance for me to kind of keep an idea of who to hire and who to call and stuff. I like that part of it a lot.
August 24th, like we said, at the Grill and Grocery, downtown Hattiesburg, 8 p.m. And anyone's welcome, not just musicians. We do comedy, spoken word. We've even had somebody do magic tricks. So, yeah.
We had
it's a
somebody
lot of fun.
read out of an elephant joke book for 15 minutes, and honestly, it was one of my favorite things.
Yeah,
ever.
that was a real laugh.
It was a lot of fun. And to be clear, when we say bi-monthly, it's actually the second and fourth bi-weekly. Sorry, it's actually the second and fourth Wednesday of every month. So it's not necessarily always every other week. It's the second and fourth Wednesday of the month. So you can peek your calendars that way and just whatever's the second and the fourth. I keep a standing gig on the off days. So that's the reason it works like that.
Yeah, and we do have a Facebook page. I believe it's called Francis and Stevens Open Mic, and
We went alphabetically.
No, I run the show. That's why
She's-
I'm first.
She's in charge. Yeah.
So find us on Facebook, and we keep that pretty well up to date. So if we do have to switch the schedule around, we give good advance notice. So
For sure.
I'm Red. These are the Revelers from Mobile, Alabama. This is a song I wrote about all the reasons why I'll never make it in this industry. It's called I'll Never Make It. I'll never have the right stuff, baby. I'll never rise out of the mold.
What's up, everybody? I'm Red Padilla from Red and the Revelers. And these are the Revelers right here. We'll go around and introduce themselves. Here you go.
I'm Nathan Calloway. I play guitar.
I'm Brian Fulmer. I play saxophone.
I'm Alvin King. I play trumpet.
Aren't you award-winning?
Award-winning?
Aren't you award-winning? Let me go ahead and start this off. Absolutely.
We don't have to start
Jazz
it.
Musician of the Year. Is that what it is, Greg? I'll just make sure we get
Best
this.
jazz musician.
Best jazz musician. Absolutely.
The
Award-winning
Lanyap
right
Nappy
here.
Awards 2022.
Absolutely.
Best jazz musician, something like that.
Well earned. Well earned. Absolutely.
Well, thank you, sir.
And I'm Taylor Hall. I play trombone.
I am the drummer. That would be me, Warren Wilson.
Better than expected.
My name is Ross Graham, and I play bass.
Yeah, so I started gigging in, 2016? Something like that? It's not been that long. I went through a divorce, and then, so I decided to start playing music. And at first, it was just going to be like, just play some cover gigs, get my name out there, and stuff like that. So for a year, I played under my own name, which was Greg Padilla. And I billed myself as the Soul Mexican, which I did. Bro,
Absolutely. It's good, man. It's good.
still have a stick.
Nice.
Yes, that's awesome.
Wow.
And then I got some advice from my mentor and my buddy Abe Partridge about kind of what direction to take, and so I decided to start a project and play with a band because I was just playing solo. So I met a lot of these guys at an open mic, right? Isn't that where? Like Ross and Nate.
Yeah, that would have been at Traders.
That's right, Traders on the Causeway. They had an open mic. And then, we had an open mic at the Sandbar out in Bellefontaine, Alabama. And so the first time I ever played with a band was we got, somehow at that open mic, Aaron talked to this guy and got us on this festival.
The Jazz Fest.
The Jed Fest, yeah, this private festival. It was awesome. It was amazing. That we, to play this thing. And so I was like, oh, I'm going to get a band. So I built myself, I think we were Greg Padilla and the Soul. That's what, that was the name.
The Mexican
One time, and our drummer was an old drummer that I had from back in college. He played with us. And so we played that, and then I decided that was not a good name. And Red's an old nickname from college, and so I took that, and I wanted something kind of Mobile-based, so Red and the Revelers rolled off the tongue good, and that's kind of how that started. But excuse me. As far as the horn section, because it didn't start off this big, it wasn't huge like this. So the first horn that I brought on was Alvin King, and I found Alvin playing jazz music because he is the award-winning Nappy 2022 Best Jazz Musician in Mobile. That man right there.
You discovered me.
I know it. Yeah. The way that article read, like I discovered him. Like I didn't know. Nobody even knew who I was.
Well, Sergio did contact. He came in Kazula's there. He said, hey, man, Greg, this guy named Greg Padilla, he's starting a band, and he wants to have a horn section. And, man, you seem like you'd be a perfect fit. And I was like, okay, I'm going to make this story really short. I was like, okay, and I actually we're going to have rehearsal on Monday or such and such. I brushed him off for like two, because he came in there a few times. And I was like, oh, yeah, man, I couldn't make it. Finally, I stopped brushing these guys off because I've heard that 1,000 times almost at gigs. And I went to the first rehearsal, and I was locked in. I said, this is it. I said, I had so much fun that first night. I said, I ain't going nowhere. And that was it. So I still play jazz, but Red and the Revelers is the priority right now, for sure.
Well, let's see. This full iteration with like the full 8-piece has only really been 3 years now, maybe 2. So the very first gig I ever played as Red and the Revelers was a single release party I did. The first album I recorded with help from guys in the Red Clay Strays and some of those other people, and we made a great album. Even like Ross was just a guest on that album at that time, and then I brought him on full time because he's a wizard, and he makes magic, and I like magic. Anybody will tell you I like magic and Ross is magic. But yeah, so we was April 20th, 2019 was when Red and the Revelers was officially born. When the pandemic hit, we had our very first big city gig. Like the city of Mobile finally came calling and booked us on this gig because I remember it was March 15th and at Cooper Riverside Park. We're going to have our first big city gig and we were excited. And it got canceled because of COVID. That's when the very first... And so the very first thing we did was that we live streamed a set that next night. And like I think we were like one of the very first bands that jumped on that like super early. And we made like $200 or $300 in tips, I think that. And then after that, we made like nothing. Like it was...
Because everybody was doing it.
Yeah, everybody was doing it. But we, during that time, I just kind of made gigs. We did a bunch of gigs at the Merry Widow in Mobile, Alabama. We would team up with other bands, and, you know, I'd have these really awesome posters made by this artist named Anthony Haddix. Y'all need to look him up. He's incredible. Yeah, he did this shirt right here. He's awesome. But so what we did was we kind of just made our own gigs, you know, and sold tickets. And we were one of the, I think, I hate to say it, but we were one of the only bands that kind of kept going, I think. And but you know, a lot's happened in 4 years, or it was 2000. Yeah, that's 4 years, isn't it? So a lot's happened in 4 years from where we've been, but it didn't really slow us down that much, you know, just because I didn't choose to let it slow us down. And we had some really great shows, and it was awesome. I think that's when our name started really getting out there, was about that time. 92 Zoo took a big interest in us. They're a real great local radio station in Alabama, and they're like one of the very last ones that you can still play their own stuff. So they really stuck their neck out for us and played us a lot and booked us for some of their events and stuff like that. But a lot of these guys play with a lot of other bands, and that's, you know, we don't really play as hard as a lot of bands do, but it allows them to play with other. And I know, like Ross. Hey, Ross, talk about how many people you play with. There's like a list of 100 in there or something like that.
There's obviously Red and the Revelers, and then there's the Satin Dogs, where I play upright, and my buddy Sergio writes the songs for that, and he's got great songs, and we'll get to that. You'll hear from us. Then there's Miss Lynn and the Damn It Boys, which is basically Raw Horses without a drummer, and Scott Chisholm playing his songs on guitar with Miss Lynn doing the harmonies, and Shelby Kemp, Jackson Weldon, and me on bass sometimes. Then there's Dream, which is Drew, Howard,
Drew's
Ross
my cousin.
Graham, each of you, and Mike Wilson.
Was that Drew? Shut up.
And yeah, that's pretty much the main ones. Anyone who calls me for upright accompaniment, I'm here for that. If you need me to just jump in on bass, my ear is decent. So, okay.
Above decent.
Hattiesburg, Mississippi has been like very vital to our growth. Like Mississippi has really just been an amazing source of fans and people who just really like buy into what we're doing. You know, it started with me playing over there at Nick's Ice House, you know, just solo by myself. And I remember the first, and you know, I was used to playing in Mobile. When you play solo in Mobile, people talk all the time, you know, because it's bar culture. But you know, I played with my eyes closed, and so I'm sitting there playing these songs on acoustic, and it's like dead silent, and I'm like, oh shit, everybody's gone outside, you know, like I was just like, don't open your eyes and just like disappoint yourself and get out of the song. So I got through the song and I opened my eyes, and like everybody was in there, and everybody was just quiet and listening to me. And it was like one of the very first real like experiences in the wild, like not playing in a listening room where that's like mandatory, you know. And that was amazing. That happened to us in Atlanta this past weekend too.
Oh, yeah.
We were like, and that's, you know, when you're full band, And I noticed like it got to a quiet part and like everybody was dead silent in a pub, in a brewery, and
They weren't ready.
They were not ready for what was happening.
So Mississippi is just really, and Puckett's, putting us on several homegrowns has really just helped us grow our fan base a lot. And now, with y'all, because we had that area down, we kind of play on the Gulf Coast down here a little bit, but we haven't as much in Mississippi. So this is great, to have this outlet down here and what y'all are doing, exposing more and more people to, to local original music, because the Mississippi Gulf Coast and Alabama is just chock full of just amazing talent, and it really is just going to take like one or two bands just really breaking through for everybody to start taking notice of what's going on down here. So he booked us at the biggest gig we've ever had so far, which was we played the Mudbug Music Fest, and we were going to play with the Drive-By Truckers and Bret Michaels, and then only we played. And
We're the best that day.
we were the best band at the Mudbug Music Fest on Friday. Out of Bret Michaels and Drive-By Truckers, we were the best
They didn't
ones.
want to play after us.
No, we played 2 sets that night. We
They
played.
used the ring as an excuse.
Absolutely.
Alvin had the greatest idea. Alvin and Warren had the best idea, and we ended up playing a surprise set afterwards, and that's how we met our now manager, Burn Sharp from Bishop Gunn, and Mississippi has been just the lifeblood of us.
Nate and I are looking forward to going fishing there.
Yeah.
Nate and I are really excited about going fishing in Mississippi again.
Yeah, they carry poles everywhere we go.
Absolutely.
Yes,
and OnlyFans.
Yeah, we have an OnlyFans. It's just like it just stays on different pictures of carpet for like 30 hours at a time. It's different just different. Yeah, if you're a carpet file, it's great. No, you can. We have a website, redandtherevelers.com. Pretty much all our social media is pretty easily. It's just Red and the Revelers. Everybody needs a little R&R, baby. That's our saying. So, but yeah, Instagram, Red and the Revelers, Facebook.com/Red and the Revelers. Give us a like. We do have a fan group. If you really like what you hear, we have a private group you can join. It's called Redheads, fan of Red and the Revelers. Y'all can join that. And we'll be posting a lot of the new content we have. That Burn Sharp's making us up there early, so y'all can tune into that.
You don't have to have red hair.
But it helps. Yeah, our page has really been growing. We're getting about 100 new fans every day and a half. So it's steady right now, but we got a lot of things coming up that's gonna, that we're working on. We're working on the new album, and all the songs that you hear tonight are gonna be on that album. So that's a good thing. We're working with Will Turpin. He's and Brian Collins has been working with us too. He's a junior producer over at Reel to Reel in Atlanta. Second favorite Brian. This is my first favorite Brian. Number one Brian.
I'm number one, baby. Absolutely.
Number one Brian. Sorry, Brian Collins, you're number two. I love you though.
Who was Will Turpin with?
Will Turpin is he's with Collective Soul. They're out on the road right now with Switchfoot, so they'll still be on the road with Switchfoot when this airs. So hey, Will, if you watch this, we love you. And don't call Brian. You can call. It's weird, Brian. No, just kidding. But but he's been great to work with, man. Will's amazing. He's a real down to earth guy. He really knows like what he's doing. Like he grew up. It's his dad's studio, and it's where they cut the very first Collective Soul album. It's a different location than that, but he grew up in the studio, and you can just tell, like it's another extension of him, and he's really just taken our sound and on captured that real just live energy. But he's
Taylor is the youngest one in the group, and he's single.
Yeah, can we give a shout out to all the single?
Yeah.
Like I done caught
No, I'll tell you. First of all, let me tell you. So Taylor is the youngest. He is the youngest, but Taylor's the last one. No, Warren's the last one to join. But Taylor was brought to me by Zach from the Red Clay Strays, and he said, "This dude, you need to use this dude." And I was like, "Cool, man." So we used that dude, and he's been fantastic. I just want to say that Taylor does an amazing job. Warren just recently joined because our first drummer, Shaggy, who moved off to Kansas, as everybody knows, who probably watches this, probably knows who Shaggy is, because he played with so many bands. Yeah, and he played. That shocked me. I didn't even know.
And he
But
got gigs on keys.
what?
Yeah. And he plays.
This I don't even know how he had the time.
I can confirm I've seen Shaggy banging on a keyboard before.
But Warren came from us from Alvin's jazz band, and he's been fantastic. And he's cool, and he likes King of the Hill, so he gets to join in. I just want to say thank you for tuning in to the Red Radio Show.
Oh, yes.
And we love you, and we miss you, and we want to see you at our next show. So, from Red and the Revelers, from all of us to you, good night.
Spirit fingers.
Jazz hands.
Jazz hands.
So my name is Brandy St. Cyr. I am one of the owners of Clary and Sage Apothecary in Pascagoula, Mississippi. So I actually can. So apothecaries actually started as like the one person in town. A lot of them were the local witches and things like that. They knew the healing herbs. They knew how to get rid of certain things. And a lot of the lore of apothecaries were very much steeped in that old tradition. As time went on, it became like the medicine man. It became the guy who knew how to mix the stuff, you know, and it was always passed down generations and generations. And then came the pharmacies, basically. So the pharmacists would be the apothecary, and they would also carry like small grocery items and things of the sort. In the 1800s, that changed, and it split into two things. So you had your local grocer, and then you had your local apothecary. So the apothecaries then became guilds, and it became the modern day pharmacy. So we actually, in our apothecary, we're kind of going a little further back into the older ways. So into, you know, this herb will help with this tea will help with that kind of a thing. Because the world has become so crazy, it's just kind of nice to kind of step back and go, well, this made sense then. Why doesn't it still make sense? Because the stuff still does the same things. So a lot of the items in the shop are actually made in shop or made by others completely from scratch. I personally make a lot of the salve that's in the shop. I make a lot of the beauty products and stuff are homemade as well. And then I have like my local honey vendor, and they do beeswax and stuff like that. And they make the best soaps and lotions that are bar form and chapstick. And then I just added a farmer who has a goat farm, and she does goat milk soap. She actually like milks the goats and like makes everything from scratch. She does men's products as well. So she's got like beard oils and shave creams and all kinds of crazy things. So yeah, so that's kind of the whole premise of the shop is everything is made by somebody. We don't go out and purchase from Amazon and like do everything in big bulks or anything like that. If we are purchasing, we're purchasing from other small business owners or other small creators. So I am not always about the rocks. So I am not the most knowledgeable about my stones. I'm still learning myself. So Tressie Feldman is actually my vendor for that. And she knows everything about everything, it seems, when it comes to crystals. The basics that I know and that I have learned over the last while, learning from her and doing independent study on my own, is each different stone actually resonates at a different vibration. So it's kind of like when you hold two magnets together. Sometimes they attract, sometimes they don't, and that's the same with the crystals. I mean, most of us is water, and it acts on that. It acts on our normal energy fields. And so different stones do different things for different people. So for example, I can't personally touch anything magnetic or having any magnetic charge. It gives me the willies. But that's my own personal vibration interacting with that stone. And everybody has something different. And so the thought process when you're picking a stone or when you come in and that's something that you're drawn to is you feel that pull and you're like, this stone is my stone. This stone is going home with me. And it's definitely a very personal and almost spiritual bond that you kind of get when you pick the right stone. Since October, I have been in 3 different car accidents and I almost died in 2 of them. Every time I wound up at the hospital, they were like, here's medicine. Oh, you're having a side effect to that medicine? Well, here's another medicine. And, you know, I mean, you get tired of that. You get tired of just being treated like that. I watched my mother be treated like that her whole life as well. And it's one of those things where I'm like, there's got to be something better. There has to be something different out there that we can do. And so I started kind of doing my research. And I've always kind of been drawn to the spiritual aspect of what an apothecary offers. And we don't have any here on the coast. I'm like, but why? You know, why wouldn't we have something like this if it's going to help people, if it is somewhere people can go and if they're having trouble physically or spiritually or just need a break or somewhere where they feel welcome. Because, I mean, I grew up with the weird kids. I was one of those weird kids. I mean, obviously, I own an apothecary. But Pascagoula, in and of itself, actually came about. It was really interesting how that happened. I mean, originally, I graduated from St. Martin. I grew up mostly in Ocean Springs, in that whole area. So I guess that kind of is why I'm a little more open-minded than if I was to have grown up in like North Mississippi or somewhere else. But Pascagoula presented itself because, you know, I'm a strong believer in signs and, you know, things happen for a reason. And I came across a shop that was looking for vendors and, you know, I had just gotten into my second car accident at that point and wasn't working and my business partner wasn't working and she deals with sickness and we got to talking about it and we're like, $100 a month? Sure. Yeah. Why not? Let's give it a go. And lo and behold, here we are, you know, 10 months later. And now we have our own store and the price for the store is amazing, which has allowed us to grow so much. Like we have doubled our shop just since being in it and we've been in it for 7 months. So, I mean, and we have an opportunity to grow even more in the next year. So, you know, it's been amazing. And Pascagoula has been a great central point because it's not too terribly far from anybody. I mean, we grew up in Ocean Springs and stuff. We're like, oh, it's all the way over there. But in actuality, it's no more than a 30-minute drive, you know? So once you get past that stigma, and then the people of Pascagoula have been amazing. And they all come in and they're like, oh my gosh, I don't have to go all the way to Biloxi anymore. I don't have to go to Hattiesburg. I don't have to go to Mobile. Like, you're here. We're so excited. And then just the outpouring of that has been amazing. And so, yeah, so Pascagoula's home for now. And, you know, if we keep growing like we're growing, we might outgrow it. We might, who knows? Who knows what the future holds at this point? I mean, social media is pretty easy. It's Clary, the and symbol, Sage Apothecary. We're on Facebook. I've got Instagram and I've got, what's it called? TikTok. Yeah, I always call it Tiki-Taki because I'm an old person and it's a problem. Yeah, no, millennial. Yay. So that's where you can find us. We also have our website. It's just www.claryandsageapothecary.com. So real easy to find us.
1, 2, 3, 4.
no way for me to grasp all the things I meant to be, all the things I meant to see. So I think I'll walk the line, and I'm doing fine. No tomorrow like today, really nothing in your way except your mind telling you that there's no more time. You want something more, but you know there is no star waiting there for you. And I'm doing fine, and I'm doing fine, and I'm doing fine, but I want more than fine. Well, you'll never see one on the way. You'll just sit back, say fine, and I'm doing fine. There's no temptation in the way. Say you love me every day. Shallow as the grave that I'll soon find. I got what I deserve. Oh, the thing that I'd have enough. Oh, the long for something more. And I'm doing fine, and I'm doing fine, and I'm doing fine, but I want more than fine. You'll never see one all that away. You'll just sit back, say fine. Come on, boy. I'm doing fine, and I'm doing fine, and I'm doing fine, but I want more than fine. You'll never see one all that way. You'll just sit there, say fine, and I'm doing fine. I'm doing fine.
Feel so weird holding a microphone because I
Does it look
always have a
natural?
guitar
Left
in
hand,
my
right?
hand when I'm like, there's a stand. You know what I mean? Like I just always feel so weird holding a microphone. I'm just like, I feel like Gene Rayburn every time. You know,
I don't know who that is.
Max game. Remember Match Game?
Match game.
Yeah, I feel like Gene Rayburn whenever I have a like. I want to hold it down here and just talk to Paul Lind
You
and
need with like the little bit.
yeah, exactly like I'm hosting Hollywood Squares or something.
Yeah.
You know, like Paul Lind in the middle. I'm the secret square. Like that's the way I feel when I'm holding a microphone.